Hello and welcome to Pathways of Hope. I'm Edwin Hermoso. Our reflection today comes from the Gospel of St. Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him and he stayed close to the sea. One of the synagogue officials named Jairus came forward. Seeing him, he fell at his feet and pleaded earnestly with him, saying, "My daughter is at the point of death. Please come, lay your hands on her, that she may get well and live." He went off with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed upon him. There was a woman afflicted with hemorrhages for 12 years. She had suffered greatly at the hands of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet she was not helped, but only grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. She said, "If I but touch his clothes, I shall be cured." Immediately her flow of blood dried up. She felt in her body that she was healed of her affliction. Jesus, aware at once that power had gone out from him, turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who has touched my clothes?" But his disciples said to Jesus, "You see how the crowd is pressing upon you, and yet you ask, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. The woman, realizing what had happened to her, approached in fear and trembling. She fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace and be cured of your affliction." While he was still speaking, people from the synagogue official's house arrived and said, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher any longer?" Disregarding the message that was reported, Jesus said to the synagogue official, "Do not be afraid. Just have faith." He did not allow anyone to accompany him inside except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they arrived at the house of the synagogue official, he caught sight of a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. So he went in and said to them, "Why this commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but asleep." And they ridiculed him. Then he put them all out. He took along the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and entered the room where the child was. He took the child by the hand and said to her, "Talitha koum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." The girl, a child of 12, arose immediately and walked about. At that they were utterly astounded. He gave strict orders that no one should know this and said that she should be given something to eat. Today's gospel features two individuals who were at the opposite ends of Jewish society during the time of Jesus. Jairus was a synagogue official, appointed by the religious elders as an administrator of the synagogue, taking charge of their practical and worship needs. For sure, it's an esteemed position. At the other end of the spectrum was the woman with a hemorrhage, an outcast since her blood flow would make her ritually unclean, including anything and anyone she touched, and thus shunned and avoided by others. Poles apart as they may have been, they shared two things in common. They were both desperate, and they both had the same bold and expectant faith. As an official, Jairus could have asked his subordinates to invite Jesus to his house. But no, he came himself, falling at the feet of Jesus in all humility to seek and implore him to lay hands on her that she may get well and live. Jairus did not pull out his entitlement as a religious official, but rather came as a father who wants nothing else but for her 12-year-old daughter to live. He believed in his heart that Jesus could do it. Even as people from his house came out to meet them to say that his daughter is dead, Jairus chose to listen instead to Jesus. "Do not be afraid, just have faith." Jairus chose to be honest and to be real to Jesus and put his trust in him. Similarly, the woman thought to herself, I've tried everything and yet nothing has cured me. But if I touch his clothes, I shall be cured. She did not want to call attention to herself as she knew her place as an outcast and the dire consequences if caught. So she chose to touch the cloak of Jesus from the back, hiding in the anonymity of the crowd following him. When Jesus asked who touched his clothes, she owned up to it in spite of her fear. Fear of the people, fear of Jesus maybe, but just the same she fell at Jesus' feet and admitted her deed. She believed Jesus could heal her and risked her life by literally reaching out to Jesus. And in response, Jesus commended her for her faith. The third character of the gospel today is the crowd. The spectators who were listening to Jesus, the people from Jairus' home who said his daughter is dead, the disciples who were incredulous when Jesus asked, "Who touched my clothes?" The mourners who ridiculed Jesus when he said that the girl was not dead but sleeping. The crowd represents those many voices that test our faith, sometimes by being negative or discouraging, egging us to give up, or by insisting that we believe only in what we can see and perceive. They are voices that try to dash our heavenly hope with earthly reality. That was true then, and it is still true now. The crowd is real. It's noisy, and they can be a huge distraction. But the good news is Jesus is always greater than the crowd. He's bigger than any problem, stronger than any storm. He is faithful even if we are not, because He's a loving, merciful, and gracious God who desires nothing but our eternal good. So my prayer for you today is that the Lord grant you this gift of expectant faith, that you may soon choose to listen to Him more than to the noisy crowd. If you were blessed by this reflection, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to Pathways of Hope. Again, this is Edwin. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.